Hello, fellow Mech Warriors, Mage Leader here. Welcome back. Glad to see so many of you have showed up right out the gate. Always good to have you guys here. I've been trying to get my thoughts together on recent events. It's been difficult. It's been a crazy week here. Let me turn the audio down in the game. It's probably a little too loud. There we go. That ought to do it. I've been trying to get my thoughts together. I was gonna do a video on some things. It was last Wednesday I was going to do a video on some Battletech news that came out. And, well, you guys all know what happened that day. I couldn't really bring myself to talk about toy robots after that, so that kind of put the kibosh on it. I've been having trouble getting my thoughts together ever since. I'd like to talk about it. I'll probably start off with the Battletech stuff, but we'll get into the same types of things as we go along here. Nothing ever happens. Yeah. Well, something happened. Sorry for everyone who always bets on nothing, but something happened. I know, wild, huh? We're gonna play No Man's Sky. The new update came out. At the moment, I'm just grinding more parts for my ship. Which, this is my, my ship that I've built. You can customize your own ships now. And they have walkable interiors. In fact, I can get up and walk around it right now. The interior is customizable. I can put different things in. I've got plants growing here. Frost crystal is good. You use it to make glass for building underwater things for your base, for windows and such. Got my bunk there. Little kitchen. My mission map, storage container. The storage container is actually linked to one that you put in your base, so you can actually kind of teleport your items across space, which is pretty useful. I don't have anything over here yet. I'll be expanding this as I go. You have to actually acquire the parts individually as you go. That's another cool thing you can do now. You can spacewalk. Just hang out on the outside of your ship for a bit. Ignore the lighting there. It's glitching out because there's an asteroid belt up there. Actually, why don't I fly up into that? Can spacewalk around in there. That'd be fun. Whee! Really sells that seamless space angle that No Man's Sky has been going for so long. We'll turn around up here and fly into the asteroids. That'll be a cool place to spacewalk. Ooh, big field. Oh yeah, for the guys who've been following the channel for a while, I did add some new notifications for the stream. There's a new one for subscribers. There's a new super chat one as well, though that probably won't get a whole lot of use, seeing as how it's for the higher end. But I have been adding little things here and there for the streams. Can I use my... Oh, I can't use my mining laser out here. It's like, can I harvest the asteroids while I'm spacewalking? That'd be freaking cool. Oh, excuse me. I can't seem to clear my throat these days. I work in a textile mill, so there's cotton waste flying around all the time, and I'm breathing that shit in. Gunks up in my throat. So I always... always feeling a bit snotty up in there. A little gooey, as it were. So you'll hear me clearing my throat a lot. I hope that you'll bear with me. It's like Star Citizen, but an actual game. Yeah, exactly. Eat your heart out, Star Citizen. This is actually playable. And it runs! It actually runs! What a novel concept. By the way, the colors on my spacesuit don't symbolize anything. I literally just picked them because they looked cool together. So each individual component of this ship I actually salvaged. So you get these parts by salvaging crashed satellites on the surface of various planets, which I will be doing for a decent chunk of today. And those parts allow you to build up more stuff on your ship. It's going to be actual space combat in No Man's Sky. There's been space combat in No Man's Sky, dude. That's one of the promised features that actually did launch with. We'll head down to the planet's surface. There's a planet here that has salvageable scrap on it. We'll be going in there. And I'll yammer about the new Battletech rules. So for those who weren't aware, there's proposed new rules for Battletech from Catalyst. Keep in mind, this is a game system that hasn't really changed since the 80s. They've added new rules on top of old rules and slightly tweaked a few things, but they've never outright revised the rules, really. They did some alternate game systems, so you had like MechWarrior Dark Age, otherwise known as Clicky Tech, which is a fun enough game in its own right, but it's not fucking Battletech. And then there's Alpha Strike, which is also fun, but is also not fucking Battletech. I have some thoughts on the new rules, to be sure. Primarily that they suck. Most of the new rules are actually okay. They're the same sort of minor tweaks that you'd expect. Nothing too earth-shattering or groundbreaking. Call in my... It's called, the mech here is called a Minotaur. I named mine Griffin just because the bubble canopy reminds me of one. And also I love the Griffin. Best way to move around. So, the new rules, most of it is fairly basic stuff. There's some tweaks to, like, infantry, some pilot stat adjustments, things like that. Like, things that just kind of make sense. That's all well good and fine. One of the new rules that they've... there's a couple that I take particular umbrage with, and they're sweeping big changes that, in my opinion, make the game significantly worse. Fortunately, these aren't official yet, and there's a good chance that there'd be enough community feedback to kind of tell Catalyst to fuck off with this. But the first big one is removal of the side hits tables. So, when you shoot at a target in Battletech, you assess what parts take damage based on which direction you're hitting them from, which makes sense. And each side has its own table. You got one for right side, got one for left side, then you have front and back. And the chances of what body parts you hit are different depending on where you are positioned. Perfectly sensible rule. So the new rules do away with the side locations, and now instead when you roll to hit, what you're actually going to do is you're going to roll on the front-facing table, and then if you hit something on the left-hand side when you're shooting on the right, then you just switch it over. You just switch it to right-hand side, and vice versa. The idea being that now it's impossible to hit the left side while shooting from the right. I think that's moronic. So, the thing is, that's not... Look at any mech from the side, right? Here, we'll use this as an example. Okay? So, standing here, this is the right-hand side of the mech. This would count as a right-hand hit. You know what I can see? The left arm. The left leg. There's a chance I could hit those, shooting at it from here. Like, you haven't removed... Just because you're on the right-hand side doesn't mean you can't hit the left-hand side. You can still see it from there. The odds are lower, but you can still see it. Removing that altogether is just silly. It's just part of the simulation of the game. It's how it works. That's a really dumb rule, and it seems to be done... The main justification that I see, in addition to the side hits thing, is that they want to make it so that essentially the game moves a bit quicker. So instead of checking the different tables, the justification that I read in the little thing they wrote was that players often have the front table hit locations memorized, but not the side location tables. And so rather than referring to tables constantly, they want to make it quicker and easier so that the game is faster. And it's one of the bigger complaints with Battletech is that it's a slow game. Which, I mean, it can be at times, but I don't think it's nearly as slow as a lot of people claim. One of the things, the thing is with that, they completely undo that with their other rule change, but I'll get to that in a second. It's supposed to make the game simpler. I think it's going to have the opposite effect, because now you've added the confusion of, oh, I rolled and hit the left-hand side, but not actually, because we're going to count that as right hand, because you're on the right hand. That seems more confusing to me than just referring to the table for the side that you're on to begin with. That's my opinion on it. The second rule that I take umbrage with is there is a massive, and I mean massive, nerf to ammo explosions. So how ammo explosions work, typically in Battletech, is that each ton of ammo has a certain number of shots. Each shot has the potential to do a certain amount of damage to enemy mechs. When your ammo explodes, you take the number of shots that are left in that particular component, that's exploding, and you apply that damage to that part of your mech. So let's say, for example, you have 2 AC-10 shots left, and they explode. Well, that's 20 damage to that component. So they are putting an upper cap on ammo explosion damage. And how much damage it does is different depending on whether or not you have case. So the thing that really bothers me about that is that you're complaining that the game takes too long, and yet ammo explosions are one of the quickest and most efficient ways of killing mechs. And the reason they even give for changing this rule is because mechs are dying too quickly, and players don't feel powerful enough. And it's like, okay, so do you want the game to be longer or shorter? Because now you've taken away something that makes the game shorter, and the mechs are going to stay alive a lot longer. So these rules are contradictory in purpose, it seems. And both of them serve the purpose, really, of trying to make the game more balanced, I would say. To make it more balanced and to make the players feel more powerful on an individual level. And I think the thing that really gets to me about these rules isn't so much the rules themselves. I don't think these are good rule changes, those two in particular. Most of the rest of it is fine, I'll be perfectly honest. It's fairly benign stuff. There are a lot of rule changes proposed, and most of them are fairly sensible. Those are two really big ones that are going to drastically change how the game is played, and kind of the whole philosophy behind the game. The thing is with Battletech is that it's not intended to be a balanced tabletop wargame experience. It's a beer and pretzels mech simulator. It's to capture the vibe of the sci-fi setting that you're in by giving you total control over the unique technology the universe has to offer, that being battle mechs. When you start removing that aspect, you start to remove what makes Battletech special. And I think that it's being done on purpose. Specifically, the idea is mass appeal, especially with the 40k crowd. I've been talking about this for a while, or hinted at it. I did so in a prior stream. I'm going to talk about it again here. The big thing about it, and I'm sorry I haven't checked the chat a whole lot. I'll read some of the stuff that has been responded to in a second, once I get my thoughts out of the way. But something I've been talking about is the approach of Catalyst to their IP. And I think that these new rules are demonstrative of the fact that Catalyst doesn't actually want you as a fan. Simple as. The things that they make are contradictory to what fans like about Battletech. Catalyst knows this, they just don't care. The whole reason why they're doing these changes is because they want to court a new audience. It's the reason why they made Battletech Gothic as well. They don't want Battletech fans buying their products. They want to replace Battletech fans with a different kind of fan. Fans of a different tabletop system, like 40k. You know, people can say, oh, Gothic isn't a ripoff of 40k as much as they want. It very clearly is. Like, to the point where... I've seen it before. I see people telling you, oh, Battletech Gothic, it's not trying to ape 40k. Fucking, the SKU number on the box is 40,000. You fucking moron. Yes, they are trying to ape off of 40k. It's they're not even hiding it. It's on the box. Never mind that they're using terms like Adeptus, this, that, and the other thing. You know, things that would get a normal person, an average person like you and me, sued by Games Workshop, they're just flagrantly putting in their fucking books. As if it's no big deal. Never mind all of that. it's so blatantly trying to court the 40k crowd, it's not even funny. It's not subtle. And like the whole reason they want that audience instead, because one, that audience has money to burn, and two, they don't come with baggage. Okay, us Battletech fans, we come with baggage. We have expectations. There was another company that was running Battletech for years before Catalyst got hold of it. We have 40 years worth of history with this. You know, we've been with the IP for a long time. I mean, I haven't. I'm a fairly recent convert. But I rather identify with the older fans. And, like, my introduction to Battletech was with older fans. You know, that's 40 years worth of experience, and that brings with it a lot of expectations. And Catalyst has tried and failed repeatedly to measure up to those expectations of what people want from this property. And, you know, I think, honestly, they're just tired of us complaining. They're tired of having to try and please us. They want to just be able to make whatever they want. The new era of Battletech, Ilclan, was a pathetic flop. Long-term fans, you know, newer fans, they all pretty much hated it. Like, even Big Red 40k was fucking critical of it after a while. You know, he's one of the biggest proponents of Catalyst stuff there is, and even he couldn't get fully on board with it. That's how you know you fucked up. And so what does Catalyst do now? Well, what they want to do is get an entirely different audience that doesn't have those same expectations. So that way, they can just make something like Ilclan or any product, and people will just assume, oh, it's just the status quo. We don't have to adhere to prior lore, all that history, all those books, all those years of build-up that other people did. Don't have to worry about any of it anymore, because now the audience only knows what we've made. And as far as they're aware, as long as we're consistent with ourselves, like, that's all that they're going to care about. That's what they're after here. It's all a case of wanting a brand new audience to replace us with. Because, you know, we're loud, we're boisterous, we have opinions, we're annoying to a company like that. If the company doesn't particularly care about your input, which Catalyst has demonstrated again and again that they don't, why would they want you as their customer if there's the possibility of having somebody who's more agreeable? So I think that these recent rule changes are an attempt to balance the game so that they can run more official tournaments. Battletech doesn't really have much in the way of tournaments, nor should it, really, because Battletech is not a serious competitive game. It's a fun... It's like the last vestige of the true tabletop experience, where it's just you and your buddies, you get together, and you move, you know, mechs around on the table, and you call it good. And you don't need anything super crazy out of it. It's just the fun of it. It doesn't really matter who wins or who loses. There's no cash on the line. There's nothing super serious. Like, you might run a campaign or something, but the game isn't balanced enough for proper tournament play to really be satisfying. Because, like, there's so many cheap strategies in Battletech. You know, one of them is building your own custom mechs with stupid min-max builds with all the armor in the front and all the ammo in the legs, right? All that kind of shit. Like, that's what Battletech is. It's not meant for the serious competitive scene. But, you know, 40k has a very serious competitive scene. I don't think that game's balanced enough, you know, for that either, but what do you see at a Games Workshop with the way they treat 40k? It's constantly having new updates and errata added. Constant FAQs, just incessantly adding more and more rules and clarifications onto things, to the point where, like, I used to play 40k, I couldn't fucking keep up with it. You know, like a new book comes out every other week, and you got to go drop another $50 in order to stay up to date and actually be considered a real 40K player. Yeah, I think book sales are another part of it. I'll get into that in a second. But you know, that's the competitive scene, because the whole thing is that GW is constantly updating based on what does well in their tournaments. And I think Catalyst looks at that and just says, "Oh, well, that's what the 40K audience wants, is a game that's balanced like that." Which is why they're now moving to put these big updates into the rules that, frankly, nobody really fucking asked for. While some of them, you know, make decent sense, nobody asked. The game didn't need fixing. It was perfectly fine the way it was. In fact, I think that there's older rule sets that are even better than the ones that Catalyst has. I will sing the praises of Compendium all day. That is a superior way to play tabletop Battletech. Or classic Battletech, in particular. Easily the best way to play. Alright, I think we got enough for this run. We can head back up to the space station. But that's what they want to do. They want to court that competitive scene. You know, and not just that, but like running proper tournaments is also a good way to advertise your product, right? Because now you have people playing it for money, that gets more eyes on it, that's more publicity. It's not what Battletech is. Battletech is not a competitive game. It's a fun game. And, you know, you start min-maxing the... Like, stupid things fucking happen in Battletech, right? You can kill an Atlas on turn 1 with a small laser if you roll good enough, you know? And, like, that's a big part of why we love Battletech so much. It's because it's that kind of game. It's very casual, beer and pretzels tabletop. And trying to make it more serious competitive is going to hurt the game in the long run. I think that's going to be bad for the game overall. But hey, you know, Battletech's never been in better hands, am I right, guys? You hear that all the fucking time. The other thing is book sales. So if we regularly see them start to try to update rules like this, it's going to be used to sell more books. And I suspect that that's a tactic because of what we've been seeing over the years with Sarna. I got my own issues with Sarna and the guys that run that thing. They're all a bunch of communist fucks, but you know, the Sarna has been an invaluable resource for the Battletech community for years. And it's not just a wiki with lore entries on different battle mechs. There's a hell of a lot more to it than that. They had genuine, honest-to-God resources, different lists, different timelines of mech development, lots of genuinely useful tools. But lately, when Catalyst puts out a new book that has information that's also available on Sarna, Sarna takes that page down. Because, you know, Catalyst doesn't want the competition. So they've been pressuring Sarna into deleting things off of the fan site in order to push more sales for the books. Oh, you wanna have a timeline for, you know, for when each individual mech came out? Well, you better buy our new TRO. $40, please. Here's something like right on top, right underneath me. Hang on. There we go. I got a decent haul this go around. So, I say all that to kind of get back to what my primary point is going to be here. It's that the best way to play Battletech and enjoy Battletech is to avoid Catalyst products. I'm going to make a recommendation right now. In fact, I may alt-tab the game for this. Give me a second. Let me Give me a sec here. Let me look this up for you. If you want... Oh, come on. Where's the button? Hang on, I'm being a boomer. Give me a second. Okay, make it smaller. Fine. If you want the best introduction to classic Battletech, the best way to play the game, this book right here is the best way to do it. I have used this book at my local store for about a year now. I genuinely think that it's the best rule set for the game. You know, you look at that big rule book that Catalyst puts out, that Total Warfare rule book, all that stuff that takes up a giant tome over there fits in about maybe 20 pages worth in the Battletech Compendium. This is the most straightforward way to play classic Battletech on tabletop, and the rules are virtually the same. There's a couple minor differences. It's just formatted so much better, so much more elegantly. The wording is better. And in general, like, it's basically, some of the rules are a little bit simpler than in the other one. And I think that if you use this particular rule set, your games are probably going to go a little bit quicker, because not only are the rules themselves a bit simpler, but they're also a lot easier to look up in the event that you have a question. Because trying to look up rules in Total Warfare, the book that Catalyst put out, is a fucking nightmare. Doing it in this book is a breeze. It's so well laid out. Everything is going to go a lot smoother for you if you own this book. This is the way to play classic Battletech. It's very easy to understand. If you're new to the game, you're going to know how to play it within maybe an hour of picking up the book, if that. It's so incredibly simple. That's just the best way to play Classic, is with that particular rule set. With that particular rule book. It's not completely compatible with Total Warfare, so like if your buddy is using those rules, you're going to run into a few differences, because they've added things to the rules since then. But if you can convince your buddy to play out of that book, you're both going to have a better game. Like, that's just me speaking God's honest truth. The game is better when you play it with Compendium. You know, I'm starting up a Mech Warrior campaign, and we're going to essentially use the Mech Warrior rules for on-foot stuff, and then when we hop into mechs, we're going to use Compendium. Compendium is the ultimate way. You can find that book on eBay. Another good website to use is Alibris. That's Alibris, Alibris.com. It's basically like eBay, specifically for books, especially out-of-print books. And it's a great resource. That's where I've gotten a lot of my classic Battletech stuff. You can also find the Battletech paperback novels there fairly easily. I've even found some Shadow pulp novels there. Like, it's a fantastic website. Can't recommend Alibris highly enough. The only downside is that sometimes the outdated listings won't update, and so you'll order something and then a couple days later get an email saying, actually, we had to cancel your order, sorry, that one doesn't exist anymore, and then you have to go back and find another listing. That's happened to me a couple times, but I mean, that's the price you pay for really good deals on books, and the prices I find tend to be pretty reasonable most of the time, depending on the rarity of the book. For Battletech stuff, I mean, I think I paid like $15 for my copy of Compendium, $20 maybe. It wasn't much. It's significantly cheaper than what you pay for a new copy of Total Warfare. Also, I'm going to say something that some people might not agree with me on. I had a whole debate about this on a Discord server in the Compendium rules, is how it handles partial cover from, like, terrain. So if you look at a hex map, right, if you look at a hex map on a typical Battletech game board, you have your different terrain heights, right? You have level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3 terrain. If you're standing on level 1 terrain, or standing on level 0 terrain, and there's level 1 terrain directly in front of you, between you and the person who's shooting at you, you have partial cover from that terrain because your legs are obscured. So how Total Warfare does this is that you roll your hit location. So once you roll and you successfully hit the target, you roll on the hit location table, and then if it's a leg hit, you don't count it. I don't like that, specifically because if I roll to hit you, and I hit you, because you already get a cover bonus from being behind it. It's already harder to hit you. If I roll, and I hit you with my 2-hit roll, that means that I deal damage. Right? I've already hit you. That's what we're doing here. So, none of this, oh, you hit me, but not really, because the legs are behind cover. How Compendium does it, and it makes a lot more sense, is when you roll your hit location, so it gives you an extra bonus for being in cover, right? So where normally it's a +1 in Total Warfare, in Compendium it's +3. So it's significantly harder to hit you now. And when you get a successful hit, you roll on the punch location table, because the punch location table only includes sections of your mech from the waist up. The legs aren't on it. So you're harder to hit, and the legs are still off the menu. Only now the process of actually rolling to hit is a lot easier and makes more sense. So that's a benefit to using Compendium. I've never seen Compendium rules, but your mileage may vary. I know that I'm kind of alone in that particular assessment. So yeah, use Compendium, because it's better. I say all that to say. Compendium's better. And I don't like the new rule changes. And I think that the rule changes aren't coming from a very good place when it comes to Catalyst. I think that they're actively trying to replace you as a Battletech fan with a new audience that won't complain when they do shitty stuff with the lore, or the universe, or the rule set. Or the product, for that matter. They want to replace you with a new type of fan that they don't currently have. There's a reason why virtually none of their products are trying to pander to their actual fan base. They're constantly, like, they do the Kickstarters, right? They did the first Kickstarter, and people were enthusiastic because, hey, look, Battletech's coming back. Then the second Kickstarter, Clan Invasion. Clan Invasion is kind of the big linchpin moment lore-wise for Battletech. It's the most famous one. The MechWarrior games were all set during the Clan Invasion or whatever. All clans all the time. Alright, fine. Clan Invasion. And then after that, Mercenaries. Because Mercenaries are the most popular thing that people play, is making their own merc companies. What's left? What's left after that? There's nothing. They've hit all the big points. And during those whole Kickstarters, because remember, that's how they fund everything with Catalyst, is with these Kickstarters. Once, all the time that they were doing that, they're constantly trying to show new ways of branching out, little by little. So one of the things that they did was they came out with Ilclan. They tried to make Ilclan a thing. But it was garbage, and nobody bought it. You know, that's even Blaine Pardo couldn't make Ilclan good. It's not salvageable. Everything after Jihad, well, everything after FedCom Civil War is completely unsalvageable. But they tried to continue it because they wanted to put out new product to try and recruit new players in. It didn't work. So the thing is that excuse me, I'm still trying to keep my throat clear here. But they tried Ill Clan and it didn't work. And so now they're switching to a new tack to try and get new fans. And that's what Battletech Gothic is going to be. And Battletech Gothic, I mean, the writing is on the fucking wall with that shit. Nobody's going to buy that. The 40k fans are all pointing and laughing at it. Like, showing it to be the act of desperation that it is. Right? I still don't have any HAB modules? Good lord. That's what I was trying to find the whole time. You know, the 40k fans all look at that as a desperate cry for help, essentially, which is what it is. And they're not interested in it. And, like, nobody who... Like, the only people who might be interested in that is 40k fans. Like, Battletech fans, they're only interested in that stuff as potentially proxying those models as, like, pirate mechs. But even that doesn't work all that well, because they're not designed for that. Warjack, I'll get to your message in a second. But, you know, they're constantly trying to put out new product that will bring in a new audience because they don't want to pander to us. We're not good enough. They need us. That's the thing. The ironic thing is that without those Kickstarters, without us buying up those Kickstarters, which are designed to pander to us, they would have no funding whatsoever to make any product. They're not a stable company, financially speaking. If they were, they wouldn't need to keep running these fucking Kickstarters. Granted, the Kickstarters are huge when they happen, but they shouldn't need those. Right? Having to rely on Kickstarter for funding is not a sign of a healthy company. So, and, you know, Catalyst hates that they have to rely on us for that. They want to be financially stable, but they also don't want to have to give us the stuff that we want. They want to be able to just make whatever they want to make, and my guns are glitched the fuck out. What the hell's going on? You see that? That is not where my laser guns are. Alright, maybe landing on the station will reset that. Let's try that out. Game's still kind of buggy. That's the big thing with Catalyst, is that everything that they do, the reason, like, people ask, why do they keep antagonizing their customers? Well, like, why don't they just do what their customers want them to do? It's because they don't want their customers. They want something different. They want an audience who will never question them and never push back. That's why when they take over the online spaces, like the subreddit and the demo team server, and their official server, and why they block tons of people on social media, the whole reason they do that is because they hate pushback. They hate being held to account. They can't stand it. So that's the situation that you find yourself in. Catalyst doesn't want any pushback. The only way that they're going to have an audience with no pushback, I mean, it's impossible. Everyone's going to have some pushback. The only way that they're getting that is by converting everything into brand new fans who don't know how good the good old days were. The ones that have nothing to compare their current product to. Guns are still bugged. We'll try warping. CGL forcing things off Sarna. Why so much of the unit color compendium has no pictures? I don't know. I don't know much about what the color compendium's up to. As far as I know, they're kind of doing their own thing over there. I don't think Catalyst would do anything with them because their books don't really sell paint jobs. I think that it's probably just a case of the mechs that they just don't have pictures for everything. Like, nobody's painted that particular unit. You'd be surprised how obscure some of them actually are. This planet looks like it has an ocean. I don't remember if I got my submarine or not. All right, Warjack, I'll check your DM now. Give me a second. All right, yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, we're good. We're fine. Yeah, that's the over-under on that. I did say that I'd open up discussion for anything you guys have as well while we're here. That's been my rant, kind of the thoughts that I had on that. I'll cover some more current events as we go along. I don't really want to talk politics right this second, but unless one of you guys brings it up or something, we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I know there were some guys on the post earlier who had some topics they wanted to chat about. So I'll open up the floor to you guys, and we'll go from there. Oh, this is a Sentinel planet. Shit. Oh, I forgot to warp my freighter in. Damn it. Thoughts on beta decay? I don't know much about it, to be honest. I haven't seen much for it. Talk about how your day's been. You don't want to know how my day's been. I appreciate the thought, though. But you don't want to know how my day's been. Beta decay, is that another like video game or tabletop game? Because I've heard the name, but I don't know much about it. Capping machine gun ammo makes sense. Changing kicking to have some target modifier is good. Yeah, kicking is fine. If you wanted to nerf machine gun ammo, I could see it. Though, again, like, when we say machine gun, we're talking mech scale machine gun. This isn't like something shooting 7.62 or 50 BMG. This is probably something closer to like a 30 millimeter gun you're talking about with mech scale machine guns. PS1 looking video game. Huh. Yeah, I haven't heard of it. I'll have to check it out sometime. Do I have the Nautilon? I do. Come on, get in. There we are. Not enough fuel. Oh, I forgot this thing runs on those stupid fuel cells. What does that need? Hydrothermic salt cytophosphate. Stuff that you mine down in the water, yeah. Alright. Well. Good news is, this bad boy can go underwater. Canonically, all the machine guns are 50 cal. No, they're not. No, they're bigger than that. Like these aren't your typical machine guns as we think of them. They are significantly larger. If you shot a 50 caliber bullet at standard battle mech armor, it would do no damage. The fact that machine guns do any damage at all means that they're bigger. Thoughts on the specs that Creative Juggernaut put out for 3D printing? I haven't been able to look a ton at the Land and Sea minis. I have been reading the books, and I love the books. I think that Land and Sea is really coming into its own. I have seen some of the models, though I haven't been able to get in super deep. I don't own a 3D printer, so I don't tend to follow 3D printing stuff all that closely. Have I ever heard of slap rounds, perchance? Anyone who follows gun tubers has heard of slap rounds. That's what almost did in Kentucky Ballistics. Yeah, pretty much everybody knows what slap rounds are. Did slap him pretty hard, yeah. Fortunately, he was okay. Yeah, if you haven't been reading the Land and Sea books, you really should. It's been a good time. It's basically like, if you want to combine Pacific Rim with Tom Clancy, that's basically what Land and Sea is. Oh boy, we're in combat. I'm trying to get a walker brain, which you do by actually engaging in the combat. Come on. These little guys are the most annoying ones. There we go. Come on. There we go. I hit him all the way over there. I'm gonna lose the alert status because it spawned those guys way over there. No, I want more. I need bigger. There we go. Gotta get the repair ones first. There we go. Come on. I'm gonna get you. Oh my. Hang on a second, I gotta recharge my stuff. Hang on, I'll be with you in a second. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Couple walker brains. We did it, boys! We did it! Sentinel nest revealed, huh? Where is it? It's off planet? Must be off planet. Alright. I needed that walker brain because that is something I need to upgrade a component of my ship. Jared Hyman, sorry I missed that question earlier. No, the mechs in Land and Sea are not the same size as Pacific Rim. They are significantly smaller even than Battletech. What? Your brain in exocraft inventory. No. I put that into my... I put that into my personal inventory, you motherfucker. Alright. There. Whatever, bro. Mechs in Land and Sea are more Votom-sized. Yeah, that's about right. They're almost more like power armor than traditional mechs. You still move them with your own body power. You need to be in like actually really good physical shape to pilot one. Okay. There, now I've got a conflict scanner. That's what I wanted. But yeah, Land and Sea is very distinct from Battletech. Has a completely different vibe to it. It's pretty good. I'm very much into it. And after that, we'll go and we'll fiddle around with the ship customizer some. You guys can get a good look at that. Oh. Yeah, sorry, Jared. I only got a glance at your name. The chat's on my second monitor, and the font is small. I apologize for that. Is it Higgum? Is that right? All right, we're gonna do a pro gamer move. And we have just turned off the sentinels for this planet. Pronounced Hyam. Okay. That was my second guess. I only guessed the first one because I know somebody whose last name was Higgum. It wasn't spelled that way, but... Walks up the computer, dab me up, G. Yeah, being able to shut down sentinels is a fairly new feature, I think. Very much appreciated. Now I can look for fossils in peace. There's going to be a lot of fossils on this planet, from what I can see. We'll try to scan some wildlife. There's a fossil bed up that way. Oh, there's a lot of fun on this planet. 17. You get rewards for scanning things. There you are, you bastard. Clap for that, you stupid bastards. Yes, Melvin, you are hearing that incorrectly. It's units received, not units pissing. Units are the primary currency in this game. Could grab a bunch of Gravitino balls, that'd be cool. I don't know if the MechWarrior Destiny TTRPG is any good. It's bad. So, MechWarrior Destiny is an incredibly watered-down RPG. Your stats basically don't fucking matter. The whole thing is more or less just theater by numbers.
Cook it down now.
Oh, don't know why I gave 2 notifications for that, but thank you, Warjack, for that $1. Appreciate it. Let's get the super chats up in this bitch. Homeboy works in a textile mill next to the 9-year-old Filipinos. If everyone gives $1, he could buy one of the shirts or something. I actually got a free shirt, believe it or not. It's got the company name proudly emblazoned on it. Our products are proudly made in the USA, start to finish. It's a point of pride. It's actually a fairly old company, family business, believe it or not. One of the things you can do in this game is actually rebuild fossils from the ground up. And kind of like put them on display. So if you want to be a paleontologist, that's a gameplay path. Say the company name. I don't want to say which company it is because I'm a bit of an asshole. And I don't want my employers to be lumped in with the bullshit I say online. Which I have every right to say, by the way. However, there are a lot of crazy people around lately, and I don't want them to get a bad name because of something I say, you know what I mean? Not that I say anything super outrageous, really. It's just there are a lot of crazy people around here. I actually have a bit of a story about that. So, you guys... Obviously, you guys know what happened last week when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. A bit of a big deal. A guy whose only crime was talking to people was shot in front of his wife and kids. And people have been celebrating that because they're disgusting trash. And so there have been some incidents around here. So the thing is, politics in Maine are very, very kind of subdued, right? We're a very classically liberal type of place. The culture of Maine is very live and let live. Like we don't give a shit what you're up to or what you do, as long as you're not hurting anybody and you're not like interfering with what I'm doing, right? So typically, when things happen around the rest of the country, politically speaking, it takes an extra year or two for those things to arrive here in Maine. We're normally several years behind everybody else. Because, you know, your average Mainer just doesn't give a shit. But that started to change in recent years, and it's certainly the case with this Charlie Kirk thing. Bowdoin College in Brunswick was going to have a a candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk. And they had to cancel it because somebody called in a threat. And basically the state police called the university saying, hey, like, people are threatening to hurt people at this event that you have planned. And so they had to cancel it. Then, just today, I think it was, the state police arrested a guy in, I think it was Cornish, who basically gave a bomb threat to University of New England in Biddeford. They went to his home, and they actually found, like, the bomb stuff in his home. Like, he was actually going to set off a bomb. You have to understand, we don't have violent crime here. That's just not a thing in this state. We don't do that. This is one of, if not the safest states in the entire Union. Other places describe us as boring, okay? We don't have violent crime. When I go... Like, half the time I forget to lock my door at night. And I just don't give a shit. You know? It doesn't matter. Because, like, no one's gonna do anything. I've got guns in my house, sure, but... I don't ever really feel like I need them all that much. And, like, this is a constitutional carry state. Everybody knows that everybody else is armed around here. It's just the way things work. So nobody really ever tries anything. I regularly leave my car unlocked with the keys in it. That's just how life is here. Right? So the idea of an actual bomb threat, not only a credible bomb threat, but one that ends up finding the bomb in the guy's house, is fucking insane. It straight up shouldn't happen here. I'm blown away that that's happened. But again, like, it all goes back to that same sort of thing. And then an account I follow on Twitter, we have our own chapter of Antifa here, and Democratic Socialists of America, otherwise known as the fucking commies. They have a presence here as well. And somebody had actually managed to get into one of their Zoom meetings and secretly record it. And they're talking about, you know, going out and shooting Nazis, as they call them. In Maine, for fuck's sake, you know? Like, this place, it's quiet here. That shit is not how life works in this state. It's never been how things are here. But all of a sudden, that's all that they want to talk about. Shooting Nazis, killing Nazis. You know, some of the group chats at the local universities got leaked. And it's just tons and tons of students on these apps. I think it's Yik Yak is what they call it. It's an anonymous chat app that they're using. And it's guys just celebrating Charlie Kirk being dead. It's insane. That kind of indecency is just not how we've ever done things. And it's just, I've always kind of felt like I had this bit of a safety net here, right? Where things get bad around the rest of the country, but for the most part, like, you walk around my hometown, or where I currently live now, and you run into mostly reasonable people. But this thing has shown that a lot of the people I thought were reasonable are complete monsters. I'm like, there are some people that I had practically no expectations for. Like, oh, Stephen King has a moronic take about the whole situation. I'm fucking shocked. Is there anything he doesn't have a retarded take on? But even then, like, just normal people that I interact with on a daily basis, realizing that they just have this monstrous approach to who I am. And like, the thing that really bothers me about it, right? Charlie Kirk is one of the most benign personalities on the right that you're going to run into. Compare him to basically anyone else, like Steven Crowder or, you know, the fucking Razor Fist, right? Charlie Kirk comes across as like Mr. Rogers in comparison. All he ever did was talk to people. His politics are less extreme than my dad's. You know? And you get all these people celebrating, talking about how big a piece of shit he was, when he never did anything wrong. And it just makes you realize, like, that could be anyone that I know, right? Anyone in my family. And they would have no remorse or even compassion if something happened to one of them. Just because of the way they think. Just because of their views. They don't even have to be extreme. You know? So, you know, when I look at Charlie Kirk, I see my dad. And it's not in a case of, like, you know, I see a father figure. I mean, Charlie Kirk is only 3 years older than I am, but all the things that he talked about were things that my dad taught me growing up. I was very fortunate to have parents who gave a shit about me. And it's just, you know, they'd kill you in a heartbeat. Or if they don't have the balls to do it themselves, they'd encourage other people to do it and then celebrate it when it happened. And that's the world we live in. It's all so very tiresome. I'm going to put a base here. This looks like a good spot. For all intents and purposes, you are Charlie Kirk. Your dad is Charlie Kirk. I'm Charlie Kirk. It's part of why it's so disturbing. I'm way more extreme than Charlie Kirk. I mean, fuck me. I'm dozens of times more extreme than Charlie Kirk. This didn't used to be a problem. The U.S. was always the country of ideas, right? No matter how much you disagreed with someone, you could talk about it. You could disagree with someone and it wasn't a big deal. They wouldn't fucking kill you over it, you know? But the response from the left isn't the only thing that's frustrated me either. A lot of it's coming from the right as well. Nowhere near to the same extent, but it makes me worry about where we're headed. The big one I've seen is that suddenly everyone seems okay with cancel culture. You know, call their workplace, get them fired. And, like, I get the sentiment, I do. It's what they do to us in a heartbeat. Doesn't make it right, you know? It's still wrong to do it. That hasn't changed just because the people we're dealing with are being monstrous. It's still wrong, regardless of how you slice it. Man, I really haven't invested much in base building stuff. I should probably head up to the space anomaly for that. I already read your DM, Warjack. We're all good. Unless you sent another one. I can't see them. My taskbar is minimized. Like, trying to ruin people's livelihoods over this is what they would do. Yes. And that's why we oppose them. Big part of why we oppose them is because they do shit like this. And you're not going to convince me that doing it back is a good idea. The solution in a situation like this... I'm gonna go into the weeds here, because this delves into like 20 different issues that all intertwine, and before I get involved with it, give me a second. I need to get a drink of something. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I've been yammering for so long that now my mouth is dry. So these thoughts may or may not gel together. I'm going to try my best, but we'll see how it goes. But one of my favorite writers as a Christian is C.S. Lewis. Now, there's something that he wrote in his book Mere Christianity, which you should read if you ever get the chance. There's an excellent audiobook version of it out there, written by one of the voice actors from the Elder Scrolls series, actually. He's done a bunch of other stuff, but that's what I recognize him from. But he did an excellent reading of it. You can find it on Audible. Highly, highly recommended. In fact, I recommend the audiobook first because Lewis's style can be a little bit tricky to read for the modern reader. And hearing it read aloud is actually makes it feel much more conversational, so it'll click with you better. But anyway, Mere Christianity gets a lot of flack from people because they misread a passage in it, which they misconstrue as C.S. Lewis talking about communism and saying that Christianity, or rather communism, is the end state of Christianity, right? Like a good Christian society is communist. That's not what he said. What he said was, superficially, a Christian society would resemble the idyllic idea of what socialism is supposed to be, because Christians would be, giving away everything that they own in charity of their own free will, because charity is one of the chief virtues of a Christian. They would be more concerned with the things of others than with the things of themselves. If you had a truly Christian society, it would superficially resemble socialism. But the difference and he makes this distinction very plainly in the text, is that that kind of society needs to come from the bottom up. It can't come from the top down. And that's the thing with systems of government, is that in order for it to avoid being oppressive, it needs to be cultural from the bottom up. You cannot force people to adopt a type of culture. Culture goes up, and that's where you get a system of governance from. You see this all around the world. It's not particularly groundbreaking information. The reason I bring that up is that the solution to society's ills is very rarely a set of laws or a set of political maneuvers. It's almost always a wider approach to the culture at large. And I think that's where we should always focus our efforts, rather than on... It's the difference between treating the symptoms and the underlying cause, right, of a disease. So, it's... when it comes to how we react to this sort of thing, what's important isn't so much our sense of justice or getting revenge, getting even, or dealing with these people the way that they deal with us. The important thing is being the correct culture, because... oh god. Hang on a second, you see that starship over there? I'm gonna walk around that. I'm gonna keep talking, though. Somebody built the Enterprise over there. But, when you're dealing with this sort of thing, you know, it's important when looking at your culture and how it's gone wrong and how you want to fix it, that you ensure that you have the deeper morality, because that is where ultimately your government is going to come from. It's going to spring up from the people. That's where every system of government comes from. So, you know, when you're looking at how to deal with stuff like this, you need to keep in mind, what kind of world do I want to live in, right? It's important. I don't know if this is coming across at all. I'm trying to make sense, but my own thoughts are so fucking scatterbrained here. But if you give up your morality and your sense of what's genuinely right and wrong in your pursuit of what you perceive to be justice, then when the smoke clears and you finally have your way and you win, what kind of society do you have? What does your victory look like? What's the end goal? Oh god. Pardon me. It's not enough to just beat your enemies. You also need to have something worth coming home to when the smoke clears at the end of it all. And if you give up your morality, the society you rebuild from the ashes is going to be just as bad as the one that you just worked to beat. Thanks, Warjack. I was glad you were able to make it. It is very important. Like, people say, oh, the moral high ground will just get you killed. Well, maybe. But if the world if the world requires you to give up your morality in order to preserve it, maybe it's not worth living in. You know what I mean? At least not for me. It's important to hold to your own standards. If you delete your own standards when it's convenient for you, then that's going to be turned around on you later. That's all there is to it. What's more important, because society is downstream from culture, is to ensure that the culture that survives is the one that does the right thing, not because it's expedient, not because it's effective, but because it's the right thing to do. That's the only reason you need to do anything ever, at any time, is because it's correct. It's the morally right thing to do. That's the only justification you need. And if you're willing to sacrifice that because you have a sense of justice or revenge, you feel like the other person deserves that. Well, yeah, deserves, absolutely. And there should be justice and there should be consequences. But you got to make sure that you do it the correct way. We've been thinking about cancel culture as being evil this entire time, and it's really disheartening to see how many people are perfectly okay with tossing that to the four winds now that they have the ability to do it back. It's still wrong, guys. That hasn't changed. It's still wrong. And what you're doing now is you're confirming that it's okay. You're perfectly fine with cancel culture so long as it's on your side. I fundamentally reject that notion. Came here to get some of this stuff. And yes, Melvin, you're not detracting from what I'm saying. What you say there, I'm getting to that. A big part of success in this entire thing is that you have to get normal people on your side. We all know the guy. We make fun of it, right? The guy who says, I just want to grill for Pete's sake. That's a mindset that's frustrated the hell out of me, I'll tell you that. But those people do exist, and they will always exist. It's important to have those people on your side, because that's where the majority of people, that's where they're at. So, that's what they call the silent majority. Your normal person who doesn't care about politics. They just want to grill. That is a very normal thing for people to think, especially in the US, especially after years and years of, not having to care. Those are the people who don't care about ideology. They don't care about effectiveness per se. They don't care about, which party is in charge, particularly. They care about the morality and what works for their individual conscience, right? Those are the people that you need on your side. If you become the immoral party, those people are going to walk away from you. We're seeing this with the left right now. We're seeing it constantly, right? It's been the political strategy of the president is to find issues that pretty much every normal person agrees on and take the obvious solution with that, because he knows that the opposition's only position is disagreeing with him, no matter what he says. So he finds things that are incredibly popular to support, and then makes his opponents look immoral by standing against it. And that gets the normal people on your side. That's how he won in 2024. It's that simple. You do need those people on your side. But it's not just a question of effectiveness. It's about doing the right thing because it's right. A lot of people, they want to use the weapon of the enemy against them. But, to quote Aragorn, you cannot wield it, none of us can. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't try. It's wrong to do it. Therefore, you shouldn't do it. It really is that simple. It remains incredible to me how quick people are to toss their morals aside And look, I get it. I get being angry. I get wanting... It feels like justice, right? It feels like justice when you give people their own medicine back at them. And, you know, you hope that they'll learn their lesson and not do it again, right? That's the whole thing. But we're dealing with fundamentally unreasonable people who don't think that way. That logical approach, that preventative approach, doesn't work the same. We'll start with a basic structure here.
Weather update. Storm clearing. Temperature levels stabilizing.
Maybe put the roof on the actual building, please? There we go. No. Piss off. No. There, that's what I wanted to do. Yeah, I don't think that actually works. Take that back. Just put a regular roof on for now. There. That'll do for now. Make any glass? Thought I had frost crystal. Oh, it's all in my ship. Yeah, go figure. Yeah, I think it's very important if you're dealing with a society like this to ensure that you're the ones who are doing the right thing. Even if it costs you. Even if it doesn't seem particularly logical at the time, or effective. You do what's right because it's right. Not because it's beneficial, but because it's right. And that's been my position on it. I don't want to get people fired, per se. I mean, it depends. Because the thing is, there's another angle to look at this from. If you're in a position of teaching children, like that one Canadian teacher who was showing footage of the murder to 10-year-olds and telling them that he deserved it, that's different. Like, you should not be in a position where you're teaching kids. Obviously. Let's move that indoors. There we go. I don't have gold? The fuck? Alright, I'm going to try and read through some of the chats now. Let's see. Let's see. Murder's murder, plain and simple. Yes. And yeah, I see some people talking about like the different layers to things. I don't necessarily disapprove of getting some of the people fired because like they're outright doing things that are endangering like the innocence of kids. That's an entirely separate issue. But I'm talking like some lady who's a cashier at Walmart or Starbucks or whatever, and she goes on her personal social media account, it says something heinous. The thing is, that is a fundamental right. We've had people saying heinous shit in this country since it was founded. It's your right to express an idea. Even if the idea is fundamentally wrong or dangerous, it is a right. When you start picking and choosing which ones are okay, it's only a matter of time before someone comes along and says that yours isn't okay anymore. Now, none of this is to say that there shouldn't be repercussions for people who call for violence specifically. That's illegal already. And for good reason. You're not allowed to incite violence. I'm all for enforcing that. That's a different thing. I'm talking about somebody who says Charlie Kirk deserved it, or I don't care that Charlie Kirk is dead, or I'm glad that he's dead. I mean, for fuck's sake. You remember when John McCain died? How many people were celebrating John McCain being dead? I remember. You know, I had no sympathy for John McCain. I had some sympathy for his family, sure, but not for him. And, you know, a lot of these people probably have been taught and shown a bunch of out-of-context clips of Charlie Kirk, and they may actually genuinely believe, based on what they've been shown, as erroneous as it is, that he was a bad person. Regardless, that's something you have a right to express. As opposed to what Destiny said. You know, Destiny got banned from Twitch, and I'm happy about that. Because what did Destiny say? You know, Destiny said, we need more of that kind of violence. Conservatives should be afraid of being killed when they go out in public. That's a call for more violence. That is rightfully illegal. And that's an entirely different thing. So I don't think that people should lose their job at Starbucks because they posted a video of themselves doing a fist pump after they heard Charlie Kirk was dead. Yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah, it's heinous behavior. And yeah, like that sort of thing shouldn't be happening. But if you want to fix that kind of thing, the solution isn't to go purely punitive. The solution is to fix the culture from the bottom up, like Lewis says. We fundamentally need to change the approach in this country to how we deal with our own culture from the bottom up. The reason that we're having all of these fucking problems with people is because we've gone for so long with this cucked generation of parents who just let their kids do whatever they want. And we teach them in school, you can just do whatever you please, you can like whatever you want to like, you can be whatever you want to be. Sounds nice on paper, sure. But there are expectations, there's responsibilities in life that kids need to be taught about, and they just aren't. Kids aren't taught about consequences. There's consequences when you do stupid shit. We need to teach them objective morality. We've been teaching them for so long that, oh, everything's fine. Whatever you want to do, as long as you don't hurt anybody, it's perfectly moral and okay. Well, it's not. It's not. You know, that's not all that there is to the whole thing. We need to start teaching objective morality again. We need to get back to actual Christian morality again, you know? That, like, and all of this stems from, I'm going to get controversial here for a second, all of this stems from a fundamental rejection of God. God is the ultimate authority on morality. if you live in a system, a society that has an objective standard of morality, congratulations, it comes from Christianity. That's where it stems from ultimately. The founding fathers in the U.S. were mostly Christian men, or at the very least, they acknowledged the benefits of Christian morality. As long as you have an objective standard of morality, you can have a functioning society. The moment you start to reject the source of that, everything starts to break down. If man is just an evolved animal, well, then what the hell is morality other than something that you've all agreed upon to be moral? And that can change at any point in time. There is no objective standard of morality otherwise. That comes exclusively from having someone who you're ultimately answerable to in the hereafter. You can tell, you can look at our society, you can see the moment that things started to degrade, and it was when we fundamentally began to reject the idea of God, when we started educating, quote unquote, people out of the concept of God and creationism and Christianity as a whole. I mean, never mind what is done on religious grounds. All religions are fundamentally equal. They're just nice lies that people tell each other. Well, no, not all religions are created equal. Fuck's sake. There's plenty of religions out there that are completely incompatible with Western society. Western ideas. With individualistic culture. You can't cram every religion into that same box. And that comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of what religious freedom is. The Pilgrims didn't come to America looking for freedom of religion. What they came to America for was freedom to practice and mandate their particular brand of it. They were Puritans. They were basically an extremist cult back in Europe. I'm no Puritan myself, but that's what they were. And that was what America was supposed to be. A place where people can practice that particular religion freely. Not let every other religion in because it sounds nice on a piece of paper or because Emma Lazarus wrote a nice poem to put on the base of the Statue of Liberty. I'm crashing out on stream. That's what this is. This is Mage crashing out, guys. Oh yeah, I was going to make some glass so I can put in windows. But I am being serious. You can always tell the exact moment that things in this country started to go to shit. And it was when we rejected God. That's the reason everything sucks now. Their opinion on Darwinism. Could Christianity be drip-fed to the populace? So, Darwinism... The thing is, Charles Darwin wasn't exactly a Darwinist himself. People overblow just how big he thought the theory of evolution was. I mean, he didn't even fully subscribe to it. It was just something that he came up with as a possible explanation. That's all kind of besides the point. If by Darwinism you mean the theory of evolution itself, it's complete and utter hogwash from start to finish. It doesn't fit with any understanding of the real world that I've ever encountered. It's completely unverifiable and is taught as scientific fact, even though you don't see it happening anywhere in the actual world. Where's my... Oh, I'm still doing my base thing. Do I have to take this thing back up into space to do this? I probably do. Alright, we'll do that. Create a VTuber avatar, you'll crash and people won't bat an eye. Another VTuber meltdown. But no, I think that the theory of evolution is complete bullshit from start to finish. I'm not just a creationist, I am a young Earth creationist. The Earth is approximately 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Suck my dick. Science is always supposed to be questioned. Yes, yes it is. The thing is, scientific truth is fundamentally limited. It is not absolute. There are lots of things that are wrong with... Like, science is based on your observation. It's based on your 5 senses. And those senses can be wrong, fundamentally speaking. So, you never have actual truth if you base your truth entirely on science, because science is fundamentally changeable. There is always going to be another discovery a few years in the future that completely invalidates everything you thought you knew. I mean, fuck's sake, half the shit that I learned in school, scientifically speaking, has been disproven since then. You know what that means? It means that for several years I was learning lies. Not like, oh, well, that's the best information we had at the time. Yeah, well, maybe, but it was still a fucking lie. If that's the best information we had, and it's still wrong, why are we teaching stuff that's wrong as if it's true? Science itself is fundamentally limited. It's a very powerful tool, and I do think that a good Christian actually devotes himself quite a bit to the study of science. Science is described, I forget who said it first, but I heard it phrased this way, and it's always stuck with me. Science is thinking God's thoughts after him. It's discovering the fabric and the methodology with which he created the world, and it's a beautiful thing. Science is a great thing, but it's not a reliable source of fundamental truth, because it's always changeable. The best information you have at a given point of time isn't always going to be, what's immediately correct, what's actually fundamentally true. I know a guy who's an old Earth creationist and believes in evolution, but that man was made independent of those processes. In general, a fun guy to talk to because he has unique views. I see old Earth creationism as a case of trying to have your cake and eat it too. The thing is, you don't need to... Just because your senses tell you that something is different doesn't mean that it is, right? So you may think, like, oh, it looks like the Earth is this old because we've been using this particular dating method. It looks that way. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. And ultimately, when you're relying on evolution and old Earth creationism at the expense of what has actually been said by God to be the real history of the world, it's you trusting your own senses over the Word of God. It's going to sound like cultish behavior to the uninformed, and I don't blame them. Yeah, it does sound that way. But the thing is, your senses are fundamentally flawed. I'm going to trust the guy who actually made the universe and what he says happened. Because every few years, there's always something... Like, even the theory of evolution itself has changed so much over the years. Nobody really knows anything when it comes right down to it. And at the end of the day, nobody was around to observe any of it. It's all speculation based on assumption. Nobody actually knows anything about it for sure. If I told you that 10 million years ago, a giant purple ape came down riding on top of a minivan and created the world by throwing his shit at everything to see what stuck, it would be equally as valid as the current prevailing theory of evolution. They would have the same amount of actual evidence applied to it. Excuse me. But yes, Aaron J. is absolutely right. Science is transitory. Yeah, planets are absolutely a great example of it. I mean, fuck's sake, we don't even really know what a planet is. We can change the definition of planet on a whim. What is a planet? Who the fuck knows? It's whatever they currently decide that it should be. And that's always changeable, it's always negotiable. I need to get more building blocks. Let me negotiate for some on the market. Can I change the quantity? I don't want to give all my reactors away. Alright, that'll do for now. How do magnets work? They just do, yeah. There are so many things that science can't explain yet. But we're all just supposed to worship it. As though it's just the only possible truth. No other possible explanation exists. Just whatever the current prevailing theory is. You know, and I reject that. Let's put another window in, shall we? I don't know if all of that made sense, but I gave it my best shot. Alright. Yeah, I can build some more of these. Let's do that. That'll be fun. Make it nice and long. Should we give it canards? See if we can make some canards for it. Nope. Damn it. Oh, I can't turn that sideways? That's lame. Alright, let's try relay joint. It's gonna block those guns. Let's Let's move these up there, and then we can build around the sides here. I'm going to move these up here. I'm going to flare out the entire midsection and kind of build up some wings. And then I can maybe move the weapon mounts onto those. So yeah, sorry about going off on the rant, but I mean that's my position. Girder array. Yeah, I don't want that. Put those in. We're going to move them slightly further back. See what else we have. Let's see. We have some curved bits, I think. I thought I had some that were like curved over. We have the Speedbird fairings. Yeah, it looks decent to start. Don't want to do that. Why doesn't that count? It's been frustrating me ever since I started with this system. Apparently you can't mount the torpedo launcher to the underside, even though it makes perfect sense. Those don't quite work. What about these? Yeah, those are better. They fit the profile more smoothly. Do I have something that fits that better? I wonder. Aha! I only have 4 of them, though. Well, if I do that and that, I can maybe get away with using these. There we go. And now here, quite big enough. Those don't quite do it for me. That looks dorky. How do I want to do this? I can buy more parts in the shipyard, but they're very expensive. Got these. Screw it. I don't actually like those. Well, do I have any more of these? I have 2 more of those. Oh yeah, that's way better. Look at that. There, and then we'll put that there. Oh yeah, that's way better. Hell yeah. That looks pretty good. Go salvage? I probably will. I did some salvage at the start. I put a... Trying to hide that reactor back there. Oh, piss off. How does that not count? How is that not connected by being there? Why is this okay on the side, but putting it there isn't? I don't understand that. That has to have a direct link to the reactor? Is that what that is? I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Alright, let's see. Put another photon cannon on. Doesn't really provide much benefit, though. Alright, I'm gonna say good enough. Alright, let's go play around the inside here. Check this out. I now have a forward-facing window in my ship. That's pretty neat. We're gonna put in internal stairway. Which allows us to come up here to where the cockpit is. And there we go. Wow. Yeah. Like to see that. I like that I've got it set out so that the lasers actually come out of the gun pods there. Yeah, this looks pretty slick. Let's take a spacewalk and admire it, shall we? Very nice. Now let's look at Paul Allen's ship. My god, it even has a front-facing viewport. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad I put this window in. Yeah, the thing is with this, I mean, No Man's Sky really has become the best space game. Space sim? Not really. It's not going for simulation. It's going for the vibe of being a space exploration game. Oh, I should have put some kind of fairing on that. I could put something on it to make it look like a turbine. I don't like that spot. I'm going to go back and change that, actually.
Thermal protection falling.
I'll see if I have enough parts to do something about that. But other than that, yeah, this looks pretty badass. I may also put something up on top of the engines. One of those sloped pieces. Kind of give it a more vacuum dynamic look. Dope. Bonked my head. Oh! How the fuck did I get up here? Wish it was more sim. I mean, I kind of do as well. But I also really like the casual aspect of it. Now that I have a conflict scanner, I can actually do one of the cooler things. I'll do that after I get my ship fully juiced. Let's see here. While I'm doing this, did anyone have some topics they wanted to chat about? So I know I want to make sure that I'm not just the only one yammering. I want to give you a good chance to yammer. If I move that there, I don't like that. I don't like that either. There's got to be something that I have here. Got the smaller cowlings. Domed casing? No, that doesn't look right. No, that's not good. Really hoping I'd have something for that. Do I have any more speedbird fairings? I do. That'll work. Yeah, that looks better. Now... Damn, not enough radiators. Only have one of those. Those aren't big enough. Fuel cover? Yeah, that looks good. Let's go with that. Then... And then that should be good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that looks really cool. Do I still have... Oh, I only have 2 of them left. Yeah, doing anything with the middle there is going to be a little bit too much. We'll just call it good. Then throw these pieces back in. There we go. How are the book series going? Which book series? I believe that's Aaron J. asked that question. Part 2 of In Hell followed with them. Oh. Yes, I am still working on the follow-up to that. I've got a couple of books that I've got in the works. It's a lot of things to juggle. But I am still actively working on it. I am very happy with how that book turned out. I think it was a very big success. Certainly a bigger success than I thought it would be. I suspected maybe like 10 people would read it. Got a couple hundred, actually. So, yeah, I am hard-pressed to complain with how that went. I definitely want to continue the story. And continue the story of Reverend Sheffield. The next book in the series is called Thy Brother's Blood Crieth. I've been working on that for a while. I wanted to do a story with Indians in it. Not Pajit Indians, but, you know, Native Americans. They're kind of integral to a lot of Western stories. I wanted to have a story that dealt with them. I'm glad you enjoyed the book, Aaron. I had a lot of fun writing it. I want to be a little more ambitious next time. Because the book, I think it was a good success, but I was playing it pretty safe for the most part. My first properly published book, I wasn't all that adventurous with it in terms of where I took the story or the characters. So I'm making an effort to make that all more interesting. Okay, now that I have the conflict scanner, I can look for a pirate system. There's one. Go. Oh. We have pirates attacking. I've never been able to prevent one of these from destroying the merchant fleets, but there is a way to shoot it down.
Enemy missile inbound.
Gotta fly through here shooting these. I feel like this would be a lot easier to do with 2 players. Shoot all this. Come on.
Rate of war initiated.
We'll shoot it down. We did it.
Hostile ships defeated. Units received.
That's how you do it, kids. Can salvage? Not this, no. But I did get a pretty big payout. Rainy planet, salvageable scrap. I definitely want to land down there. One thing I can do is I can recruit these pirate frigates into my own fleet. Speaking of, I should warp my own fleet in. If only there's an actual plot in No Man's Sky. I have news for you. There is. There is actually quite a significant plot and lore to No Man's Sky. Most of it is relayed through the expeditions, which are timed, basically timed content. So think of it kind of like a free mission pack that you do. There's a decent amount of story detail given that way. It also has a main campaign with a rather interesting storyline for you to play through. The Artemis storyline. One that actually, the first time I played through it, it made me tear up a little bit, not gonna lie. You think they'll add shipboarding? I'm hoping that they do. I would love to have that. The neat thing about a lot of the stuff they're currently doing in No Man's Sky is that they're preparing for their next game, Light No Fire. And that's going to run on the same engine as No Man's Sky. So a lot of the tech that they use in No Man's Sky, or that they've developed for Light No Fire, is being put into No Man's Sky as well. One of the big ones, you know, with the Corvette update, is that that's how ships are going to work in Light No Fire, which is a medieval fantasy type game. So you'll be sailing ships on the ocean there. And the technology from that is what they're putting into No Man's Sky at the moment. So I'm hoping that if they're planning on having a boarding action in Light No Fire, it will probably find its way into No Man's Sky. It's kind of become a test bed for a lot of their other things. God help me, I'm looking into 40k and picked an army. I went with salamanders. Well, you could do worse. I mean, 40k is a terrible idea. God rest your wallet, but... I also cannot condone giving money to Games Workshop. They're such a garbage company. But I mean, hey, that's my position, and what you want to do with your money is completely up to you. There's a reason I don't promote Catalyst product and encourage 3D printing and using old rulebooks. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Oh God. What is that? That does remind me, actually. I have a little robot dog. So, the expeditions I talked about, where you can... that a lot of the newer story content comes from, there's different rewards for completing them. And the one that's currently running, if you complete the whole thing, they give you this little robot dog companion. And he'll just go around with you. Kind of. I mean, he also just runs off and does his own thing sometimes. How dare you damage me? Die. Wanted to pick Tau. Frankly, I want to pick a Space Marine chapter I'd like learn the mechanics with before even considering Tau. I played Tau for quite a while. I think the Tau... they're a lot less fun to play than they used to be. Tau auxiliaries were a very, interesting and enjoyable part of the game. But now, those sort of mixed formations that you used to have in the game with them, where you'd have like 4 or 5 different species working together, and that was kind of the Tau's whole thing, was the combined arms approach. Games Workshop has pushed that all off to the side in order to sell more battle suits. So now you're either running Tau as pure battle suits, or you're running them as Kroot. And those are kind of your options. I mean, there's some Vespid stuff, but for the most part, your options are battle suit or Kroot. Their cooler ground vehicles are all more or less gone, or not officially supported, or have stupid rules that make them not worth it. It's suits and Kroots. The Tau is objectively the best faction in 40k, though. There's just no contesting that. They are the best boys. Even though Games Workshop has been trying their best to fuck up the lore with them in recent years. Never mind the interesting juxtaposition that they used to have with the Imperium being a more hopeful faction in a dark universe, and how interesting the juxtaposition was. Nah, never mind that. They're just the Imperium, but smaller now. Fuck it. People complained that they were too nice. Dumbass fanboys wanted to bitch, moan, and whine. And God knows we can't have that. Better get rid of the thing that's interesting just because a couple of fucking morons wanted to bitch about it. Yeah, I'm slightly salty. Thanks for noticing. Take your Tau and raise you Imperial Knights. Oh, dude. Knights are fucking cool. Knights are really fun from a lore perspective as well. I love the... I love the sort of, the inheritance and the family aspect of it. The ghost in the machine aspect. Like, it's all really fascinating stuff. Really cool, very grimdark. Love it a lot. There's a whole political angle to being a knight princeps that you don't really see anywhere else in 40k. It's very interesting. Yeah, the Tau were really cool when they were allowed to be, and Games Workshop has been fucking up the lore on them ever again. Thoughts on Necrons? Necrons are cool. Necrons are really fun. Though, again, they used to be way more interesting. The thing is, like, if with modern 40k, you're either playing Space Marines or you're an afterthought. Really. That's when it comes right down to it. The Xenos races, Games Workshop doesn't give a shit about. They'll occasionally put out some new stuff, but you're either Imperium or Chaos. And if you're not, then you may as well not fucking exist. God, this is a gorgeous planet. I won't deny that salamanders are cool, but they're definitely not the coolest Space Marines. They're not even the best Space Marines in the color green. Dark Angels for life, baby. Loyalty's its own reward. Yes, hardy har har, Chaos Space Marine. Shut the fuck up. It stopped being funny like 15 years ago. If it was ever funny to begin with. Which it wasn't, by the way. Classic case of read the fucking lore. Many such cases. Oh god. It's a double rainbow! What does it mean? Deep lore of the internet. Some of you are going to be too young to know what that is, but that's okay. Someday you too will be a dinosaur. Check the prices on Ironwind metals. Haven't really raised the prices. Nothing has been raised on each page. Yeah, I don't foresee them raising those prices all that much. They're already pretty expensive. I honestly think Catalyst bought them out so that they could shut them down. The whole thing with Ironwind is that they had exclusive rights to a few things. They're the only company that could make buildable mechs and individually packaged mechs. Now that Catalyst owns them, they have those rights as well. So I suspect that you're going to see the metal minis go the way of the Dodo, and they're going to put out those same sort of mech blisters in plastic instead. Which, you know, from a business perspective, I get, but it is sad that they're going to go away. Way to go, Lauren, taking advantage of a guy's wife having cancer in order to get cheap access to something his company is not deserving of, you know? I will say, fortunately, Catalyst and their employees have at least been smart enough to stay out of most of the current political drama from what I've seen. I haven't seen any of their anywhere, which is good for the entire world, really. Good for him, good for everybody. The world is a nicer place when he keeps his fucking stupid-ass mouth shut. But I don't go around religiously checking their posts, so I don't know. Maybe somebody has. Yeah, this crater. That's pretty cool. They've upgraded the terrain generation in this game a lot over the years.
Weather warning. Incoming storm.
Oh, storm coming. Rem and some other dipwad have made comments from some screenshot. What's Rem said about it? I know Valk, you know, in his usual nonsense, had some stupid shit to say. What did Rem say? Somebody should send me those screenshots. I'm genuinely curious now. Because Rem is an actual employee, you know? Like, she's in charge of a ton of the recent bullshit. She outright orchestrated some of the worst things that's happened in the space. Valksburged out. Yeah, I know he did. I saw Valk's comments, and they were honestly tamer than I was expecting, not gonna lie. I thought those would be worse, but, you know, credit where it's due, I guess. He only spurged out a little as opposed to a ton. Oh yeah, another neat thing that they added. The water gets riled up now in the storms. Goes from flat calm to actually choppy water. Visited my family last week, and my brother kept referencing the Lyropleurodon. Because my brother got a gecko named Leo recently. Was that like a kind of dinosaur? I've never heard that name. Ah. Beautiful. Even the storms here are gorgeous. I only need to scan one more animal and I'll have this planet completed. It's a thing from Charlie the Unicorn. Oh, geez, there's a deep cut. I haven't thought about Charlie in a while. Val considers himself conservative? Press X to doubt. I don't think that's the case. Everything I've ever seen him spurg about. I'm sure maybe he calls himself conservative, but he certainly has never once, to my knowledge, behaved in a conservative manner. Probably just an argumentation tactic. No, actually, I'm on your side. I believe all this stuff, but you're being extreme. It's the same thing that people do, right, when they know you're a Christian. And they're like, well, that's not very Christian of you to behave that way. You should be doing this, as if they know anything about it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's what it is. Just pretending so that you're more likely to listen to them. Or to fake there being common ground. That's a common tactic that I've seen. Oh. Well, the ship tried to go around that mountain. They've added the ability for giant mountains to pop up, but they haven't quite updated the ship's AI to actually avoid them, so they clip through them still. I get it. It's a lot of stuff to micromanage. Not well mentally? Well, that's an understatement. Black Lynx. I mean, we're talking about the guy who threatened to shoot up conventions if he perceived disrespect being given to his transgender girlfriend. I'm sure that person is completely mentally stable. Oh, and what a surprise. He's in favor of political violence when it suits him? Wow, I'm shocked. That's an example of the new fan base that Catalyst wants to replace you with. These guys like that. Where's all the scrap? I need scrap. That's what I came here for. Off on the side of my scan visor it says dangerously hot fog. But I've been reading it this whole time and my head is dangerous hot dog. It's what I call my dick. Anyway, look, somebody had to, okay? It wrote itself. I cannot be held responsible for my own actions. And you're racist. You're a bigot. There. I have absolved myself of any wrongdoing. You're a bigot. Yay, nanites. I like nanites. Nanites are good. I can use them for things. You pick up No Man's Sky, you gonna play with me? Yeah, absolutely, Warjack. And unintrusive. You can either do stuff together or go off and do shit your own way, and it doesn't matter make bullying great again. What we need is what we need isn't bullying. What we need is accountability again. Objective standard of what you're bad. But we need to understand what the baseline is. I'm hardly an example of what's normal. I collect Transformers, you know? Like, toys intended for children. I am far from normal. But at the same time, like, you need that grounding. That objective standard to measure yourself against, to keep yourself from going so far astray that you develop a foot fetish. You know what I mean? This speaks to a pattern that I've noticed, right? Where... Have you noticed... It's going to be a difficult subject to talk about, but have you guys noticed how many more pedophiles there are today than what there used to be? Right? It seems like every other week somebody's getting busted for having CP on their phone. Or some other such thing. Or inappropriately talking to minors. It's a recurring issue. You ever wonder why that is? I think it's because we've lost this idea of what a normal, healthy relationship is. We've so embraced this culture of hedonism that people just embrace whatever feels good to them. And they don't stop to think about it. You know? We look at that behavior and we say, oh, it's monstrous. It's terrible. On what grounds? Yours? It makes you feel icky? You were taught that it's bad? Where's your objective morality that's telling you that it's bad? Isn't strong enough to keep that person from doing horrible things. And morality is to begin with. Possible in society. It's, you know, like, who are you to say that it's abnormal? What is normal? We don't have a standard for that. Not anymore. You hear it all the time. Normal's just a setting on the dryer. Well, maybe some things should be seen as normal and abnormal. You'd prevent stuff like that from happening. You know? I mean, Jesus Christ, where do we see? Where do we see one of the highest concentrations of that kind of behavior? Hey babe, welcome home. I'm talking about passion of that behavior in LGBT circles. And it's not because LGBT people are inherently bad. It's because they don't have an objective standard of what normal sexuality is. They don't believe in normal sexuality. It's whatever you want it to be. And sure, most of them will draw the line at adulthood. But is it because they have an actual moral obligation to it, or is it just because that's what's legal? Again, like, this is what happens when you reject the concept of God. From where objective morality comes from. Without objective morality, anything's permissible. So you get somebody who maybe is a little bit twisted in the head, who likes that kind of thing, who maybe in a normal moral society would seek help, or would find the means, or at the very least, be afraid enough of the alienation from society to avoid actually committing the behavior. And you introduce that person into a society where there is no objective morality, well, what's to stop them? If there's buffering, there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it. Sometimes the stream will just decide it doesn't want to anymore. Are we back? Is it working? Yeah, Edo's right on about the bell curve. Yeah, absolutely. You come back around to it at the end of the day. You need an objective standard. If you don't have an objective standard, you can justify literally anything. And it's something I deal with all the time in conversation. I constantly see guys with no belief in higher power or anything that could be considered objective morality making moral statements. Being like, how could someone be so monstrous? Well, it's the same ideology that you're going off of right now. It's just taken to its logical conclusion. You know? People don't think about that. That's the end result of your pure liberalism. Your live and let live mentality. That's the reason why it's fundamentally important to build society from the bottom up. It's like a house, you know? A house is built on a foundation. You have to have a good foundation before you can build something as complicated as a high-rise. If you don't have a good foundation, it's going to wobble, it's going to topple over. I mean, for fuck's sake, the Bible talks about this. The wise man built his house upon the rock, and the house stood firm. The foolish man built his house upon the sand. If you went to Sunday school, you probably sang a song about it. It's the same exact lesson. It's the same exact lesson at the end of the day. Society comes from the bottom up. And you'll never have a utopia on Earth, but the closest you're ever going to get to it is if everyone's living like a proper Christian in the biblical sense. You know, everybody trying to be as Christ-like as they can. You're never going to get that. Not in this life. But that's what we should be striving toward. Whoa. Excuse me? Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa! Pirates doing strafing runs on me? That is not permissible, sir. We are not standing for that. These pirates have no objective standard of morality. Did they leave? I think they left. Well, they just strafed me once and then... Fuck that guy in particular! And then they leave. Alright. How'd you survive that? I have very highly upgraded shields, that's how. Alright, I think I'll go back and start... Oh, that's right. This is a pirate system. Completely forgot about that. I came here to run contraband, and I just wound up getting distracted by getting more salvage. Let's go do some smuggling. Mage got distracted from smuggling spices. I mean, literally, dude. I came here specifically to do illegal shit. Yeah, when you have a conflict scanner installed, which is the bit of tech that I put in at the very start of the stream, when you have one of those, you can detect which systems are operated by pirates. And from there, you can go and buy contraband and run it into the more civilized star systems. Downside is the pirate stations don't have teleporters, so you just gotta walk all the way over here. We'll go talk to the black market dealer. You can make a good amount of money doing this. What do I currently have? I got, what, 27 million? That's not terrible. It was like the equivalent of IFF and gravimetric sensors and EV Nova. I mean, sure, I guess. No idea what you're talking about, but yes, that. Somalis haven't been to space. No, but they have been to Maine. They've certainly been to Maine, I'll tell you that. They all live in Lewiston. Dude, we have such a massive Somali population in Lewiston. It's basically become just a dumping ground for them. Things are so bad over there. There's been a recent report that a representative from that area is currently in an Islamic marriage with a second woman. So Maine has laws against bigamy, and yet there he is with 2 wives, just openly, and he lives with his second wife, openly, and he's still allowed to be a sitting representative. You know, it's a perfectly normal living arrangement that normal people do. How is he even still in Maine? I don't know, dude. It's just, this place is so fucking blue. Sorry. This place is such a blue state lately in so many ways. Maine is really weird like that. In a lot of ways, we're very red, and in some, we're as blue as the day is long. Excuse me. I think it's because we have such a strong culture of please leave me alone. A lot of people think that Mainers are very rude, and they're not rude. They just have a different standard of politeness. What's considered polite up here is minding your own fucking business, right? That's polite. Getting your nose in someone else's business is rude. So when Mainers act cold or disconnected or uninterested, it's because they're trying to be polite. Like, that's considered polite. And you're being rude by offloading your shit onto them. Alright, let's sell off these smuggled goods.
Units received. Units received. Units received. Units received.
Decent little profit.
Units received.
But yeah, that culture of leave me alone extends to a bunch of different aspects of life, right? You don't put your nose in someone else's business. So if they're doing something untoward, well, it's not my business. I don't really care all that much as long as they aren't hurting anything. And that's kind of been the inroad for a lot of leftism here. It's not that the people here are left wing, it's that they think that being polite is minding your own business. And that's sort of, well, why do you care if 2 gay people get married? You know, why do you care if if there are immigrants here? Like, what have they ever done to you? Why do you care? Right? That's been the approach, and that's really effective on Mainers because that's just what they consider to be polite by default. It's like, okay, yeah, well, I guess it isn't my business what they do. That's a mentality that I still have in a lot of ways. It's just kind of like, hey, like, they're not hurting anything. Whatever, go for it.
Technology recharged.
And so those, like, that's been the case here for decades. And those chickens are starting to come home to roost now, you know? We're starting to see some of the consequences of that. And that's just how the world is right now. Wow, I can't see a thing. It always seems to be storming on the planets when I arrive. I'll build up the base a little bit and then probably call it a night. It is starting to get a little late here. I know my wife wants to go to bed. I don't blame her. If it was up to me, I'd stay in bed all day and never leave it. Because I'm a lazy as fuck person, and that's just who I am. Where did I put... Ah, there it is. Wait, what? Why is that there? I guess it's only temporary. Well, that's annoying. Maybe I won't keep this base then. No. Damn you. Get in the fucking... No. No. Oh, it's because there's a tree there, isn't it? There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Oh, hell yeah. Alright, what do I need for solar panels? I need gold and metal plating. Well, I can definitely make some metal plating. Let me make 3 of those, and then I know I have gold in my starship. Let's see. Yeah, I've got a lot of gold. Put that there. And what's it take to do a battery? A battery is magnetized ferrite and condensed carbon. Let's do another... Oh, I need another fucking... Hang on. That. Cool. Those are charging. So now I can connect the battery to... Well, if I need power for something... Definitely a good start. Ugh. I wonder, let's see, I need some... I thought there was a way to make the electrical cables invisible, but... Let's see. A couple of carbon nanotubes. Put that there. Hook that up to that battery there. There, now we can teleport to the base when we want to. And teleport from it as well. Fucking sentinels. Can I hide from them in here? Seems that I can. Okay. Yeah, if I go inside my base, they don't fuck with me. I probably won't put too much work into building this up because, honestly, dealing with sentinels is a pain in the ass, and they're aggressive here. If they spot you, it's not just a case of don't mind anything while they look at you, they actually start attacking you. But anyway, I think that's good. I'll go back to the space station. So I should name this one. Upload it, make sure it goes, and call it something like Booby Bum Bum 6969, and then we can teleport to another base. There we go. Okay, not sure why you put my ship there, but alright. Hold up, let's get that somewhere else, shall we? Just real quick. There you go. There, this is a base that I built underwater. I'm rather fond of it. I actually really like the underwater base idea. Like, it's pretty cool. These have to be actively powered to keep the water out, which is interesting. I was gonna build this one up more. Never mind the fish that are swimming directly through. That's normal. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it. I thought there was a manual save. I just gotta go back to my ship and save it from there. That's okay. That works. We'll save the game and call it a night. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to my TED Talk. I know I just kind of rambled about a bunch of random stuff. Probably didn't make a whole lot of sense for most of it. But I needed to get a lot of it out of my system. I'd like to thank everybody for joining in tonight. It was good to have you. And that's going to be it for me tonight. I will see you all next time.